a pasta made without egg. So is it really a pasta? I'm not entirely sure, but you can make pasta without egg. You can just use strong bread flour, a bit of salt and water. We just need to work it a little bit more, so we just need to activate the gluten just a little bit more, which will keep the pasta together, which was what the egg does in normal pasta. The egg holds the pasta together better and gives a richness. But obviously, eggs are kind of more expensive than water, so we can, and depending on what you want to do with the pasta, I just want to make some sheets, and I'm going to make some ravioli type, dumpling type things. So we can just make a water and flour pasta, and it's just wheat flour. There is pasta made with polenta flour and water. That certainly is pasta, but this normally you use eggs. I'm waffling. We'll crack on with it. So an egg is about 50 grams. And the ratio for pasta is normally 1 egg for every 100 grams of flour. So 700 grams of flour, a bit of salt, and then I've weighed out 350 grams of water. We might not need it all. Water's different consistency to egg, so we'll just add and see how we go. So well in the center, add half the water and see where we go. I've done this loads of times, and what I do is I tend to, the water that I add, I don't mix it all in to all the flour. I'll start in the centre, and the water that I add mixes in with the flour, and then when that paste gets to about the right kind of consistency, I'll pull that bit of paste out. So that feels about right. Like that's going to start coming together once we give it a bit of a knead. So there's some tiny bits there and there, so we can pull that to one side, and then we can mix in some more water and do the same process again. It's just one of those things. You can always add a little bit more water. Very difficult to take it away. Same with seasoning, and the same with most things. If you're working your way through a recipe, different flours are different, water's different. If you're using eggs, they're different sizes. You know, certainly if you're buying odd-shaped eggs from the farm, they're not going to be graded the same. So you're going to get some medium ones, you're going to get some small ones, you're going to get some large ones, all mixed in together. So that's fine. That looks like that will come together with a bit of kneading, and then that amount of water should do that. It will become wetter as it gets kneaded, so it'll change consistency. So we'll probably be able to get probably about the right actually with all the water. And obviously I will write down the proper recipe in the description, how much water I added and if I added any extra. And you can always do that because water weighs kind of the same. So if I know I've got 700 grams of flour, if I then, once I've made the pasta dough and I'm not entirely sure how much water I've added, all you simply have to do is weigh the dough, deduct off the 700 grams, and then you've got the weight of water that you've added to the dough. So it's all pretty straightforward. And I suppose that type of thing's obvious to some people. Other people, it would never occur to them. So that's fine, and that's fine. So now it's just a case of kneading it all together. I wouldn't do this on the worktop because flour is abrasive. Even though it's mildly abrasive, it's going to slowly wear away your worktops over time. Unless you're not bothered about your worktops, unless you've got particularly hard wearing worktops, you don't need to worry about that. But I always tend to knead things in a bowl or in a board, and then it doesn't ruin my worktops. Right, so I'm going to knead this for 5 minutes until it starts to come together. and then we'll come back. You don't need to see me kneading for 5 minutes, but that's basically the process that I'm doing. If you just can see I'm doing that, we'll see how we go, and we'll come back and we'll see how it looks, see if we need to add any more water, but it should be okay, and then it'll need to rest, and then we can use it as the pasta. I'm not going to use all that in the recipe I'm going to use today, so what I will do is I will dry some of the pasta on some drying racks, and then we can see what it's like when it's cooked. It won't be a brilliant pasta, but if money's a bit tight and you've just got some flour, then you can make your own pasta. Bit out of breath. I haven't kneaded in a while. I think I've killed my sourdough starter, so I'm not making bread at the moment. So I'm trying to reinvigorate my sourdough starter, so I haven't made bread in ages. It's like, it's just awful that I've killed my sourdough starter. I think I have anyway, but anyway. So, it's starting to come together as a dough. It's still a shaggy mess, but that's fine. Through more kneading, it's going to become better. And through the rolling process through the pasta machine, it's going to be fine as that. But it's a bit wet. But there is some of the flour left in the bottom of the bowl. So we'll add that to that, and we'll knead in. When we roll it out as well, we're going to be adding more flour as well. But the thing with flour is that it takes a while for the water to completely soak into the flour. So when you're making pastry, a lot of the resting is actually just allowing the water to completely saturate the flour. I don't entirely believe that the glutens need time to relax. The gluten needs time to relax in the flour when you're resting it. I think it's mostly down to the water needing to be fully absorbed into the flour. And the same with bread making. You add the flour to the water and then let it sit for an hour, so the water can penetrate the flour a lot more evenly, and then therefore you can add more water into the dough. So, same principle with making pastry, same principle with making pasta, in my eyes. I think it's one of those things that's probably been staring everyone in the face for years, but I just don't think many people put two and two together. Or maybe it's one of those secrets that everybody knows, but nobody talks about, or everybody kind of knows and no one's kind of said anything about it. But anyway, so it's coming together quite nicely. We'll keep going and working it and working it and working it. It's just you need to put the work in. You know, you're saving 7 eggs, so like a pound. You're saving yourself a pound. If I was making egg pasta, I'm saving myself, well, I use free-range organic eggs, so they're more expensive than that. But even with the cheap eggs, you're kind of saving yourself the money. And, I don't know, just seems a bit of a waste of eggs. You know, if you don't need the pasta to be silky and luxurious and rich, and you just need more like a paste, then you don't have to add the eggs. Anyway, that's it for the moment. I think I'm going to need that for another 5 minutes. It'll come together a lot nicer, a lot smoother, and then it's going to rest in the fridge for an hour. I'm going to go out for a walk, and then we'll come back and roll some pasta, and you can see what it's like. Right, so it's had a good 5-10 minutes of kneading, and it's now nice and elastic. Nice and, well, not nice and smooth, but certainly suitable for what I'm going to use it for. So, there we go. Cheap pasta. But that's what it wants to look like. You know, it's going to be fine. It's going to add more. There's going to be more flour added when it's rolled out using the pasta roller. I'm not clever enough to use a rolling pin with pasta, but it will be fine, and that's good enough consistency. It needs to be drier than that ideally, but we're going to add flour when we roll it out, so it's going to be fine. There we go, easy peasy. Then, eggless pasta. I've rolled it out. I probably need to do the video again at some point. It was quite a wet dough, and it needs maybe 40 grams worth of water for every 100 grams worth of flour. I think it was a little bit wet, and I've had to dry it out a little before I cut it into strips. But it's fine, and it dries out well. And then we'll do a kind of a cooking at some point when it's all nice and dried out. I did some last night that I was faffing around with, but then I've just dried this out. I've rolled it into sheets, and I've just left it just to kind of slightly dry in the fridge overnight. But I put some on the rack last night, and you can see that it's drying out. So I won't use that one, I'll show you this one. It's just a wooden square that I've made, and then it's got some wire netting over the top, quite thin wire mesh, but I have seen people use an old pair of tights, which if I had some tights I would have used tights, but I didn't have any tights, so I did have some wire mesh, so that's what I used to make my pasta drying racks. So because it's a little bit wet, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to deal with, but I'll make a fool of myself and I'll roll it out a little bit, and I'll cut it out in the pasta machine, and then we'll have it on the rack. Not that one, doesn't want to go through. That one doesn't want to go through either. No. Something wrong with my pasta machine. No, there we go. Probably dried out just a little bit too much, so that out of the way, that there. I've never been able to, I've seen people and they just dust it in flour and put it on a board in a pile, and it dries out, and they put it into do it that way, and then they put it into straight into water, and it all cooks evenly. I've never been able to do that, if I'm honest. So the way I'm drying pasta, it's a little bit laborious, but I just portion it out on these sheets like that. It also dries flat then, and then I just put it somewhere warm in the sunshine, and it dries out over a couple of days, and then I just put it in the sealed container, and it lasts for months and months and months and months and months. So there we go, that's that. Pretty straightforward. A bit of a faff, but I'm not doing anything else at the moment. Well, I am. I'm doing lots of things as always, but the days are plenty of time during the daytime. So anyway, that is pasta made without egg. There we go. Just takes a couple of days to dry in the sunshine. I don't do it outside. The weather's not nice enough at the moment, but it goes in the conservatory in the sunshine, and it dries out pretty quickly. But there we go. But I will do the video again. I'll do the video again, and next time I'll use less water, and then we'll kind of a bit of an experiment. But I always kind of think it's interesting to see where you go wrong in life, and also videos I make are also for me as an experiment, and to kind of look back on what you used to do and how you changed things and why things didn't go particularly right, and how you would improve things in the future. So yeah, there we go. But anyway, so when it's all dried out, we'll cook some and we'll see how it goes, and if it doesn't work particularly well, then it will be a disaster, and I'll advise against it in future. Cooking the dried pasta. So the pasta is dried out for a couple of days in the sun, nice and dry now, so we're going to cook it, and we're going to serve it with some pasta sauce that I've got some meatballs for as well. So rapidly salted boiling water, and then just drop the pasta in, and then we'll see how it goes. If it falls to bits, we will no longer be making pasta without egg for this purpose. It's alright with sheets, but if it doesn't work with this, it doesn't work. I never weighed how much pasta I'm using, but we'll pause and we'll come back when it's actually cooked. Right, the pasta's cooked. It's held together alright. Alright, could it be better? No, it's broken up actually. No, we will not be making pasta without egg for tagliatelle ever again. No, doesn't work. Well, I'm still going to eat it. But there we go. We live and learn. Quite a few videos have gone not particularly how I wanted them to go recently, but a learning curve and all that. So, the eggless pasta doesn't really work for tagliatelle, and or spaghetti or pappardelle. It will work for some things in other kind of pasta shapes, but it breaks up, which is fine. It's fine. However, if you want to use the eggless pasta for things like lasagna sheets or to make the ricotta dumplings that I made, it works perfectly. Or if you wanted to do like a cannelloni, that would work as well. So if you wanted to put the filling in the pasta and roll the pasta up, rather than putting it into tubes, that would work as well. Just doesn't kind of work for tagliatelle. I'm going to use it. It's fine. It's fine for me at home to have some dried pasta like that in the cupboard. I might use it in another way, not particularly in that way, but it just breaks up when you cook it, which is slightly disappointing. I'll look into it. I'll have a play around, but it's fine for other purposes. And certainly, if you haven't got an egg, you can. Yeah, it depends what you kind of want you're using it for. If if you've just got flour and water and you haven't got any eggs, and you want to make some pasta and you want to make tagliatelle, you can do. Or if you want to have a practice at making pasta and you don't want to have to waste eggs, because I don't like wasting eggs. You know, like to take a bag of flour and to play around with that flour and to make some pasta and to play around with making shapes and cutting it and drying it and all those type of things, I don't think that's a waste. But to waste that amount of eggs that it would take to make that amount of pasta I think is a waste. But a bag of flour to teach yourself how to do something, I don't think that's a waste. I don't think that's a waste. Even if you were to throw that flour away afterwards, I think a bag of flour to train you how to make pasta and roll pasta and cut pasta and shape pasta, I think that's a valuable thing. But anyway, I'm not going to waste that. I'm going to store it, and because I don't like waste of any kind, I always save these bags that the chickpeas come in. They're really nice and where that's come from. They're really nice and thick, and what you do with them, they are brilliant for storing things. Absolutely brilliant. So careful with the pasta. See, it's already wanting to break up as I put it in the bag and fall on the floor, but we can put it in the bag, and then you can tie a cable tie around it, or if you've got a bag sealing machine or a vacuum bag machine, you can use the heating element on it to seal the end of the bag. So make sure you get all the ends down, and there, that bit faster, that bit faster. It's very brittle. So that out of the way. And then we've got these, which are moisture absorbing tablets, which will just, if there's any moisture in the bag or there's any moisture left in the tablet, in the pasta, it will just stop any kind of bacteria wanting to grow, because it will suck all that moisture out of the. So this is the vacuum sealing machine that sucks all the air out of things. That's the heating strip there. You can't use it. It's unfortunate you can't use these bags in the machine. They need to have a little bit of perforation on, so it's slightly annoying, and I have tried to work around so you can use these type of bags in the vacuum machine, but you can't, unfortunately. It's too much of a faff, and the bags are expensive. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, so clamp down. We'll squeeze some air out of it gently. Yeah, squeeze some air out of it, trying not to break the pasta. Close that, do that. And then what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you just leave it after the light goes off. The little light goes off to tell you that it's sealed. You just got to leave it for a little bit longer, because it's thicker plastic and it can take a little bit of a while to properly seal it. But there you go. It seals. It can now live in the back of the cupboard, and we have not wasted the bag, and we've got some pasta on hand, which I'll use for something, just not as well. I will use it as tagliatelle, but it won't be. Just don't kind of look nice. Kind of breaks up. It's a little bit disappointing, but it has its uses. And that's it. I'm sure that's it. There'll be something else. No, because I could rattle on talking about all kinds of rubbish all day. But anyway, that's it.